History is filled with people who changed the world not with weapons or power, but with kindness, intelligence, and courage. One of the greatest examples is Florence Nightingale, a woman who transformed nursing, saved thousands of soldiers, and proved that one person can change an entire system. This story tells her real journey, written in simple English to help you improve your language skills while enjoying an inspiring historical narrative. Florence Nightingale was born on May 12, 1820, in a wealthy British family. Her parents expected her to live a comfortable life filled with social events, travel, and luxury. But Florence was different from other girls of her age. While others enjoyed parties, Florence enjoyed books. She asked questions, read history, studied mathematics, and observed everything around her. From a young age, she felt something deep in her heart, a calling. She believed she had a purpose, and she wrote in her diary at age 16, "God has called me to his service." But she did not know what that service was. Not yet. When the Nightingale family traveled across Europe, Florence saw poverty and sickness everywhere. She saw injured workers, hungry children, and women with no medical help. Hospitals smelled bad, rooms were dark, and nurses were untrained. Most women avoided hospitals, but Florence was not like most women. She walked into the poor houses and sick rooms without fear. She listened to people's stories. She cleaned, comforted, and helped them. She wrote detailed notes about everything she saw. When she finally realized what her purpose was, she told her parents, "I want to be a nurse." Her mother was shocked. Her father said it was not a proper job for a lady. In the 1800s, nursing was considered low class. It was dirty work, done mostly by poor women with little training. But Florence looked into her father's eyes and said, "I cannot live a life without meaning." Her parents said no. Florence said nothing, but she did not give up. For years, Florence studied in secret. She read medical books, practiced bandaging on animals, and learned about sanitation, nutrition, and statistics. Her mind was sharp, and she loved numbers. She once said, "Numbers are the only language that never lies." At age 30, she finally convinced her father to let her study nursing in Germany. She trained in a small hospital with strict routines and long hours. Florence worked harder than anyone, and the nurses respected her dedication. When she returned to London, she was offered a high position as the manager of a charity hospital. Under her leadership, patients received better food, cleaner rooms, and more gentle care. People praised her, doctors respected her, and newspapers wrote about the remarkable woman with extraordinary discipline. But her real challenge was still waiting. In 1853, the Crimean War broke out between the British Empire, France, and the Ottoman Empire against Russia. Thousands of British soldiers were sent to the front, and thousands were wounded. But the newspaper reports shocked the nation. The conditions in the military hospitals were worse than the battlefield. The British government was desperate. They needed someone capable, disciplined, and fearless. There was only one name that came to mind: Florence Nightingale. When the Minister of War wrote to her, he said, "We need you. The soldiers need you." Florence immediately agreed. Florence and 38 trained nurses traveled to a huge British military hospital in Scutari, near Istanbul. What they saw there was worse than any nightmare. The hospital was dirty, crowded, and full of wounded soldiers lying on floors. Rats ran across the rooms, water leaked from the ceiling, and supplies were almost non-existent. Many soldiers were dying not from wounds, but from infections, cholera, and typhoid. Florence took a deep breath and whispered, "We will change this." Doctors at first resisted her. They did not want a woman telling them what to do. But Florence did not argue. She worked. She cleaned floors, organized supplies, cooked food, washed sheets, and comforted the dying. Slowly, order began to appear where there had been chaos. At night, when all other nurses slept, Florence walked through the long hallways with a small lamp in her hand. She visited every soldier, one by one. She wrote letters for them, checked their bandages, and whispered kind words. Soldiers who feared death found peace when she appeared. They called her the Lady with the Lamp. One soldier wrote, "She is a ministering angel. When she passes, we kiss her shadow." Word spread across Britain, and Florence became a symbol of hope. Florence soon noticed something shocking. More soldiers were dying from hospital infections than from battlefield wounds. This was disastrous and preventable. She carefully examined the hospital's records and applied her love for statistics. Using charts and diagrams, she found that poor sanitation caused the majority of deaths. The real enemy was not Russia. It was dirt, germs, and bad management. Florence demanded clean water, proper sewage, fresh air, and healthy food. She reorganized the entire system. At first, officials resisted, but Florence did not stop. She wrote reports, she argued with officers, she appealed to the government, and she used the power of truth. Finally, they listened. Within months, the death rate dropped from 42% to just 2%. Florence had saved thousands of lives. When the war ended, Florence returned home as a national hero. But she did not walk in celebrations. She did not want fame. She went home quietly and began her biggest project yet, reforming the entire medical system of Britain. She wrote Notes on Nursing, a simple and practical book that taught families how to care for the sick. It became one of the most influential books in medical history. She also founded the Nightingale School of Nursing in London, the first professional nursing school in the world. Her students learned cleanliness, kindness, discipline, and responsibility. They became the first generation of modern nurses. Her ideas spread to India, America, Europe, and beyond. And everywhere they went, hospitals improved and lives were saved. Florence spent the rest of her life writing, researching, and advising governments. Even when she became sick and rarely left her room, she communicated through letters and reports. She trained generations of nurses and influenced public health. When she died in 1910 at age 90, the world mourned. But her legacy was alive. Today, every clean hospital, every trained nurse, and every organized medical system carries part of Florence Nightingale's spirit. She proved that One person can change a broken system. Kindness can save lives. Knowledge is power. Discipline and compassion make the strongest combination. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more inspiring stories every week.